Ladies and gentlemen, you're well. Edifica is one of the most important discussions in our United sessions. Even for your welcome to the official launching of our digital platform, Edifica Connect. Has a tremendous challenge to connect the entire industry of construction and the attendance that will be carried out of the our authorities, but we will those who are attending us remotely as well in the official launching of Edifica Connect one. Edifica Connect is a perfect platform to uh, engage all stakeholders in the services and the material and interest as well as leaders and international parties in the industry that contribute to the networking of diverse knowledge of the field. I am in this that will make the American industry for 365 days connected in this field. And for this, I want to invite the president of the uh, Chinese construction. Thank you. Give us a few words of welcome.
Muy buenos días a todos quienes hoy nos acompañan de manera presencial y en forma telemática. Una modalidad que se ha masificado a causa de la crisis sanitaria, evidentemente, y que nos ha tocado enfrentar y a la que hemos podido recurrir gracias a que una tecnología la hace posible. De hecho, las tecnologías de comunicación
has been, in fact, the communications, social networking, and the Internet of Things have enabled this. Not only these elements, but also those that are in the heart of the fourth industrial revolution we are living, and which scope we do not yet know since it's been evolving. Technologies such as these change the course of history and are even more rapidly on a day-to-day basis. And this is for many reasons, but the existence of an environment that promotes innovation and rewards innovation should, without doubt, be one of the most important fields. And innovation is part of the human spirit because it has helped us survive, but because it also facilitated new horizons of development to the communities and the nations. Innovation is also a fundamental aspect to bring forth productivity, um, as well as the industry, the construction industry has a challenge to face. Also, for example, locally, uh, we have certain aspects have not changed in the last 20 years to revert the situation and to achieve better uh, levels of productivity shows a source of benefit for our companies, our workers, for the owners, and for the entire group of society. In this sense, to promote innovation and to elevate productivity to one reactivation, commercial, financially, economically, reactivation is not only collateral, but it's a un, un, unavoidable effort to maximize the impact and the use of resources. I'm sure that the activity and the to be carried out this morning will help us open our minds in face of maybe potential efforts that are at our reach and can be well used and can contribute to Chile to become a better country for all, and as we all wish it to be. Edifica Connect will be the point of encounter for the content, the community as well, that will make it possible to materialize in the introduction of innovation and productivity necessary for our sector. This is
todos
why
invitados
we
a
have
formar parte
we are
activa de esta campaña.
welcoming
Muchas
you
gracias.
all to participate actively. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Antonio, for your words. We will continue now with our program. We have a tremendous before starting, I would like to leave you with the Minister of Economy, Mr. Lucas Palacio, who's also wanted to be part of this inauguration, Edifica Connect 2021. Please
Hola a
run the
todos.
video.
Quiero agradecer la invitación
Good
a
day,
participar
all.
de
I
forma
want to
telemática
thank
en
the
el
invitation
lanzamiento
to
de este programa
participate
Edifica Connect,
remotely on this
que congrega a
Edifica
distintos
Connect
profesionales ligados al área de la
that
construcción y la ingeniería,
connects different
ámbitos clave de cara al proceso de
professionals
recuperación
connected
económica
to
que
this
ya
field,
comenzó
key
en nuestro
elements to
país.
reactivate the
Mientras las
economy that
ideas y
has
soluciones que
already been
surgen en
felt
este
by our
encuentro
country.
permitirán
Ideas and
abordar temas
solutions from this
fundamentales que
encounter will
aún tenemos
enable us
pendientes
to
como país, tales como
take
mejorar
on
productividad y fomentar la
fundamental
innovación.
problems,
Por esta
productivity,
razón, mi
and
invitación es a que nos
innovation.
empapemos
This
de
is why
creatividad para
my
generar
invitation
propuestas concretas
shows us to
que luego
become more
puedan ser
creative,
aplicables tanto en el
provide
sector público como en el
concrete
sector privado
proposals
y
in the
juntos
public as in
soñemos
the
y
private
proyectemos el
sector,
país
and
que
then we
queremos
can
para nuestros hijos.
came together and project the
Agradezco
country we want
nuevamente
for
la
our children.
invitación a
I
participar de este
thank
encuentro
again the
y también a
invitation
los
to
asistentes,
participate in this
quienes no tengo duda
gathering and also the
aportarán con
attendance, which I'm
importantes ideas
sure
para el
will
sector de la
provide
construcción.
important
Muchas
ideas
gracias.
for the construction sector. Thank you very much. Thank you, Minister. A round of applause for his words. Edifica Connect will be the area to provide ideas to promote productivity and like innovation. So to give this initiation, I want to invite Max Correa, who's part of the Edifica Organizing Committee, ISA's GL event, President Francisco Mayor, and as well the President of the Chilean Construction Chamber of and we want to officially inaugurate Edifica Connect.
Dos, uno. Con este hito damos inaugurada Edifica
We
Connect 2021.
inaugurated Edifica Connect 2021. A tremendous round of applause for this tremendous milestone. We are inaugurating Edifica Connect 2021. So before starting with this interesting program that we prepared for everyone, I'd like to give you a greetings from the Minister of Housing, Mr. Felipe Ward, who also wanted to be part of this important ceremony. Hi, my name is Felipe Ward. I am the Minister of Housing and Urban. I want to greet and congratulate of construction will be possible Edifica Connected digital platform that will enable us to be connected to the construction world to the carrying until next year, 2022, a formal physical exhibition carried out. I want to welcome and greet everyone who is virtual sphere, attendants, assistants, participants, will enable us to understand and to see the new technologies in this construction sector. Also to broaden the breadth of context and understand of new innovation. We all know the pandemic and coronavirus created a more complex crisis in the last 100 years and also impacted our economy. As a consequence, the labors and of thousands of people, thousands of people. Much of this linked to the construction field. In the face of this problem, President Piñera's government is going to carry out a program to recovering that will be carried out and become an agent of reactivation with responsibility of improving the quality of life of thousands of people throughout the country. Leading this process has been a responsibility of, and where the public and private alliance has been essential to achieve this results. In the same place, in the Ministry of Housing and Urbanism, we've achieved a series of results that are very important for us. We started 2021 with a budget, highest budget in the history of the ministry, over $1,670 million in investment in housing and and urban construction. Having such a large budget, which is the biggest in ever, made us able to provide extraordinary measures in construction and housing. Now we will probably get this year get over subsidies, over 300,000 subsidies to improve, to rent, to construct, and improving the lifestyle of hundreds of millions. This is a tremendous milestone and big achievement. There's also a record number of houses being built. We've never had so many uh, simultaneous construction of works. This shows the commitment of the families we have in the country, better standards in construction, better equipped, and more integrated cities. But this would not be possible without different motivations. And one of this is, I would say, the main one is the social integration. This year, we will start 46,000 housing programs over social integration on the land, the greatest number since it began in 2016. Also, we will select a series of other 25,000 units that we hope to initiate in the following months. As you see, the the housing construction has been growing, and our ministry also provides 5 out of 10 of those utilities. This is 40 to 50% of the housing built in the country. Our objective is to totalize the initiation of construction of 74,000 house units and projecting 80,000 work places. This is our greatest motivation as well as the president, part of the president's wish. This is a joint work of public sector, private sector can achieve this goal, and also more companies, more families can have their own home. I invite you to follow a connect, and I hope that next year we can also share experiences to also add to the new challenges in the construction sector. A warm greeting to all. Thank you very much. So now I can imagine that we are all uh, ready to see today's program. We will have a great participation of Shantu and President CEO of Broadview, who's also with us last Edifica in 2017 and was also surprised us with great, tremendous challenge. It was construct a building that was 57 stories in only 19 days in Shanghai, China. Today, he has a new record of building a residential building of 10 stories in only 28 hours. This is really impactful. Today, he will show new innovations, methods, and construction, prefabricated construction methods that have created a great impact at a world level. Now, I also want to leave with you Shamsu, who is the also director of the same group. And to give you a little bit of context, Asha Reeves is our strategical associate for the generation of links with the Asian market, through which we have been able to carry out a series of activities to China as well as these um, commercial business sessions. And so I don't want to go ahead. We just want to receive Duhan, and we receive her with a tremendous applause. Thank you. Hello, everyone. It is very important to be happy. Today we have a special guest from the other side of the world, Mr. Tang, CEO, as Bernarda said, from Broad Group, who in 2017 impacted the world by building a, a 7-story building in only 19 days. Now, in that time, along with the Chilean Chamber of Construction, we set up a totally impossible challenge. It was to invite Mr. Francis to participate in the events from Edifica. To be able to achieve these objectives, the ASABET traveled uh, times to the capital of the province of Henan with the idea to convince Mr. Xiang to participate and to show his innovations. Finally, Xianzu accepted the invitation, came to Chile, and this event and participation was one of the most commented events, as you can probably recall. Today, 4 years later, in the official inauguration of Edifica Connect, we are able to again have his participation with the also to be able to invite you all to participate in the important challenge and to generate and transform the construction system and method to be friendly with the environment and also responsible with the future generations. I am very grateful to, or happy to know Mr. Santu. I have tremendous admiration and respect, and not only because of his as a businessman and visionary and innovator, but also as a very philosopher who's recognized by the United Nations as the guardian of the earth and also by the Fortune magazine as one of the 25 most eco innovator of the planet. How did he do this? We will show you a video of so you can put into context the construction of that housing, which he called Bordeaux, and it was done in 28 hours as a milestone in the construction industry. Please run the video. We all have an idea, of how this was achieved. Now we will invite Mr. Shandue, who will personally, from a distance, across the planet and to share his experience with us.
Porque debido al edificio, este material que fabricamos es un tipo de material premium, porque este acero inoxidable es súper resistente, por eso también permite una mayor seguridad de nuestros edificios.
Stainless steel has enabled less security. Now, because of these materials,
permite un ancho de
we have been,
4.80
once
metros,
constructed,
o sea, permite
4.8 meters. They allow that space. So you're very comfortable within that space. Now, also, we have installed a system of fresh air cooling system that not only enables the installation, but also have a very cool, fresh air within the building.
主要的原因是2个方面，一方面呢，是因为它是把节能做到了这个极致，所以它的使用成本非常低。你可以翻译了。
¿Y por qué nuestro edificio es de tan alta calidad, pero tiene un costo tan bajo? Es por dos razones. Por un lado, porque maximizamos nuestro consumo energético.
The power or
因为我们用完全的流水线生产，像造汽车一样来造这个房子，所以呢，它的这个制造成本非常之低，非常之低。所以呢，尽管我用的是最高级的材料，用不锈钢做结构材料，但是我的建筑呢，其实比碳钢的建筑还要低，而且这样的低的程度呢，我认为在全世界范围内，即便是这个低收入人群也是可以接受的。
Por otro lado, es porque el el tipo de trabajo que aplicamos es un tipo de
On the other hand, the type of
manufacturación.
system we
¿Qué
use
quiere
is
decir?
the flow of
Este
product
caso,
manufacture
maximizar
and
este
we
costo de
minimize
fabricación de
cost
estos materiales del
in
mismo edificio. Por
manufacture
eso,
of
aunque
the
el material que
materials. This is
aplicamos
why
de
even though
acero
the materials that
inoxidable,
we use
pero el
is
coste
stainless
es aún
steel,
más
but the
bajo
cost
que la
is even
aplicación de
lower
acero de
than
carbono.
the
Por
carbon
eso
steel.
digo yo que con
This is
este
why
coste que tienen
this
nuestros
type of
edificios también
cost
permite
that
la
our
formación
building has
de las personas
made
de renta baja.
of low income
那么
families as well.
第二个议题是，活楼是全球能源消耗最低的建筑，却是空气品质最高的建筑。那么这一点是非常奇怪的，你能源消耗很低很低，为什么你的建筑的空气品质最高？这个呢非常奇怪，你先翻译这句话。
El siguiente tema sería que nuestro
So
edificio
the
tiene el
same
consumo de
issue
energía
would
más
be
bajo del
is that
mundo,
our
mientras tanto
building has the
tenemos la
lowest
más alta calidad de
energy
aire
consumption
interior.
in the world
Es
and
un
also the
asunto muy
best quality of
curioso.
air in
¿Por qué
indoors in these buildings. So this is a very important
menor
point. And
energía,
why?
pero mientras
Because
tanto
we use
garantizamos
less
una muy
energy,
alta
but we
calidad de
guarantee
aire?
a high quality in the
原因
air
是
that
我们
the
公司在
occupants
过
breathe.
去11年前开发建筑的
This
第
is
一动
done
机，就是为
in
了把建筑节能推广好。
this is done
我们
in
认为气候变化的
executive interpretation.
最需要快速解决的问题就是建筑本身的节能，降低这个建筑的节能，全世界有可能降低40%的总社会能耗。
Es justamente porque hace 11 años,
And this is
cuando
because
inventamos y cuando
11 years ago, when
esta
we
idea de construcción,
invented this idea of constructing this initiative that we had was to minimize the consumption of energy. And because of climate change, the most important aspect is to lower net use of energy. And it's particularly in the construction area. With that, we carry out and achieve a 40% of energy consumption.
这个北部地区呢是全世界最热的、最炎热的地区，在南部地区呢又是全世界最寒冷的地区，所以智利呢应该把建筑节能当做它国家最重要的一个气候保护的一个领域，把建筑节能当做优先的第一领域。翻译。
As in the north of Chile and the south of Chile has it's colder, the government of Chile also needs to prioritize consumption energy in the construction area.
品质为什么远大是我们的活楼做到最高呢？是因为我们在过去的将近20年时间里面一直独创了，一直在开发一种超级洁净又是超级节能的这个新风系统。那么这个系统呢，它是可以过滤使得室内的空气这个 PM2.5 呢要减少100倍的。由于我们深度的研发，使得我们的这个风机的通风的电耗是最低的。更重要的是，我们独创的这种新风热回收系统，使得我们的这个建筑在这个空气系统在通风的同时呢，能够回收80%以上的这个排风的热量，所以呢，空气的这个品质非常高，但是能耗非常低。
Porque podemos garantizar una muy buena calidad de aire
Also
en el interior.
provide a very good air quality inside, because in the past 20 years what we have been doing is using this fresh air system of low air consumption, developing this. Now with this system we can particularly 2.5 and 100 more and less than particular ppm outside the air in the environment. And with the system we develop, we can also prepare and
great measure this electrical consumption. And most important of all is this new recovery, heat recovery system and pressure. And also guaranteeing and also the ventilation, recovering 80% of the heat from fresh air. Therefore, we are not just cannot lower the consumption, we can also guarantee the good
这个
quality in
活
the
炉
air.
悖论的第三个问题啊，非常奇怪啊。第三个问题大家觉得非常奇怪，活楼是全世界尺寸最单一的建筑，大家都认为这个模块化建筑就是尺寸单一，是最死板的。但是呢，却是我们的活楼呢，却是楼型、户型最多样的建筑。你先翻译。
Following issue then would be that the system would become it's modular, but would be to promote this. This is a very curious point that we can also do this modularized, so it can be
我们的
actually
这个
promoted.
我们的这个建筑的这个宽度，我们的建筑房间的宽度呢是4.8米，长度是12米。在这个空间里面，我们可以任意的去布置房间。然后我们的这个房间的这个端头呢，侧边呢也可以任意的布置阳台，或者是布置突出去的这个窗户。你先翻译。
As we said, the rooms are 480 meters, 480, and 12 meters. And within that space, you can have a very flexible change and adjustment within the space. That means you can move the arrangements, the layouts. You can also add area to like a
非
bathroom.
常重要的一个问题就是，建筑在使用几年以后，使用一些年份以后，有可能因为这个客户的兴趣上的转变，家庭使用情况的转变，甚至于那个区域商业化功能的一些转变呢，事实上这个楼房呢还可以改变它的功能，可以由住宅改成酒店，或者改成写字楼，或者反过来把写字楼改成住宅，改成酒店。
System for years, and we have to sometimes change the function of the building. And in this case, our building enables a function building from a residential building to offices or hotels or to residential. It is very
而且还有
flexible.
非常重要的一个特点就是，我们的活楼呢是要满足集装箱的这个海洋运输的需要。这个海洋运输的需要呢，它是要堆叠8层的，在船上面，然后呢在船上面摇摆很严重，海浪啊摇摆很严重，所以它本身的机械结构就变得非常强。你如果建了一个5、6层的楼房的话，你以后还可以建设，不断的往上加楼层。我们在地面上正常的情况，最轻结构的那种建筑可以建到16层，最高的这个最强度最大的结构呢是可以建到200层的。所以呢，事实上这个楼房在建造之初你可以矮一点，然后以后可以轻易的升高，反过来也可以轻易的降低，甚至还可以拆迁掉，移到另外一个地方，用很少的成本移到另外一个地方。
One of the most highlighting characteristics is maximum flexibility in terms of the metal structure. When we transport these materials, we are whether loaded on containers, and because of the movement of the differences in height of these works, the structure has to be very flexible to be able to store within containers. Usually, when we transport these, we add up to 8 floors, the maximum stories. So we flexibilize the structure to facilitate its transportation. This is why we would state that in where we could you transport or where you would construct this building, it's very easy to also move each floor. At the beginning, you could maybe construct a relatively low building, but then you can add floors, and that is easier, or to bring these to other areas, or add actually, or even lower the stories of the building.
啊，我们的这个运输的过程中间是不需要集装箱的，我们的这个模块本身就是一个集装箱，然后呢，它的尺寸就是集装箱，它的整个结构就是集装箱的那个结构，然后到现场栓接螺栓就可以了，不需要集装箱。
Not to confuse it, it's no containers are required because even the shape of the buildings is as a container. The same structure is a container. This is why we need to actually is one to adjust to the
好了，
construction
我们再谈这个活楼悖论的第4个方面。活楼是全球建造工期最短的建筑，却是使用寿命最长的建筑。短到什么程度呢？短到我们一天可以轻而易举地建造10层楼。我们第一栋楼呢，其实是11层。那么这11层楼建完以后，在第2天就可以让人住进去。所以呢，这完全是颠覆了我们的认知。其实呢，这个短就是跟我们造汽车一样，因为已经把所有的工作在工厂做完了，买了汽车给你以后，你加上油就可以用。它就这个特点。
The fourth paradox that we will touch upon that our building has the briefest period of construction and such an extensive lifespan. The first exercise, we constructed 11 floors, and the following day after this construction, people can live in the building, and actually it's quite usable. The whole entire structure is prefabricated, is already modularized. It's like when we construct when we build cars, for example, you could just put oil, gas, and you can drive. Same theory is used for our
现场呢，其
building.
实只需要做2项工作，做4项工作。现场只需要做4项工作。第一项工作呢，就是拧螺栓；第2项工作就是打胶，这个外墙接缝之间要打胶；第3项工作呢，就是接水管，有2根排水管，有1根给水管。然后第4项工作就是接那个电源的那个接头，接电源接头，就这么4项工作。所以它就是要这么快。它不是因为我们为了快而快，而是因为它工作量很小。现场做任何工作成本都是非常高的，而且质量也是不可控的。
The same area of the construction requires 4 things. One, you need to bolt, tighten bolts, filling the joints. 3, install the piping when draining for the water supply. And 4th is install power input plugs. That's the only requirement. That's the actually do things quickly. So the only thing pending doing is it's a volume that's very little. So everything is prefabricated, modularized. Because if we construct that site, we construct at we will not be able to control the quality of the building if it's done on site.
建第1栋楼的时候，或者前面的几栋楼，可能这个办手续的时间会比较长。我们是有这个计划的。如果我们在智利发展的话，我们可能要按照当地的政府的规管的需要， 来申办这些手续，做前期的这个检验啊、认证啊，前期的这些办手续的时间会比较长。啊，我们的合作伙伴、我们的客户要注意这个问题，建造的时间很短。
In this case, to construct in Chile, the time that would be the longest would be the permits. Before constructing the first buildings, we'd have to carry out and see if it's allowed by the government to carry out such permitting issues. That's why it's Chilean associate will be not the building itself, but the ordeal, the permitting ordeal.
翻译。
My criteria, maybe we need 3 to 6 months to be able to have the paperwork
但
done.
是呢，最重要的就是我们的活楼是全世界使用寿命最长的建筑，它的长主要是指的我们的结构全部是用的不锈钢，我们选择的不锈钢呢是耐腐蚀30倍以上的，事实上呢最长的呢是耐腐蚀到200倍，比碳钢耐腐蚀要达到30倍到200倍之间，所以它的寿命呢是至少是可以达到1000年的。最关键的问题还不仅仅是寿命长，不论你是什么时间要拆掉这个楼，这个不锈钢是可以回收的，100%回收的，它是可以循环利用的。所以呢，对于我们后代来说呢，它就是一个世代相传的财富。你翻译。
In this case, the exercise was also trying to attain the largest or longest shelf life, we could say, because this material is expected to use anti-corrosive than carbon steel. So it's actually, that's why I say that our whole building has a useful life or lifespan of about 1,000 years. And also, once we take down the building, the type of stainless steel allows 100% of reuse and recycling. So this is a very good building for
对比很
following
多传统的
generations.
建筑，我们在全世界90%的建筑现在都是钢筋混凝土建筑。钢筋混凝土建筑寿命是非常短的，大概就是60年寿命。这些建筑拆除以后呢，它的这个材料是完全不能利用的，就是垃圾。所以这个问题呢，我们全人类要觉醒，要觉醒，要改变我们的观念，不能再使用这种寿命极短的、不可以回收的钢筋混凝土了。
In comparison to conventional buildings, with the most are concrete or form of steelwork, in the construction methods are over 60 years old, and the materials as well that probably cannot be reused, but once there are when they're the building is taken down. This is why we have to change our mindset. We'll just have we'll have debris. We cannot continue
非常
using
高
material
兴
that's
有
not
机会
recyclable.
再次在智利参加这种活动。那么对于智利呢，我的感情是非常深厚的，但是对于智利的这个地震呢，我也是很忧虑的。智利所有的方面我都觉得是最美的国家，但是呢，它又是一个非常危险的国家。我有一次在智利参加你们的会议的时候呢，提前就参加了这个地震逃生的这个演习，这件事情让我印象极为深刻，所以我接下来要讲讲地震的问题。翻译。
For me, it is a very an honor to be able to participate in this type of activity along with our Chilean friends. I have very warm feelings for Chile, but I'm still concerned of the earthquakes in Chile and when all the aspects that I understand of Chile, environment, basically everything is Chile is very beautiful, very interesting. Meanwhile, it is still a country that's dangerous, if I could say. I'm quite impressed once I participated in a meeting, and before starting to inaugurate the building, I was in a anti-seismic
智利
rehearsal.
地震专家很多啊，我们都知道这个地震呢，它造成破坏是两个因素，第一是你建筑有没有韧性，你建筑如果有足够的韧性的话，地震是摧毁不了它的。第二一个问题，你建筑是不是足够轻？你如果建筑极为重的话，地震的破坏力就是地震的加速度乘以建筑的自身重量。所以呢，解决建筑材料的韧性问题和解决建筑材料的重量问题是抵抗地震的最基本的两个问题。你翻译。
And there's many specialists in seismic, in seismic and earthquake prevention. But in our country, there's two series of important aspects. One, that the buildings have to be very resistant to be able to support the magnitude of each earthquake. And secondly, buildings have to be very light enough to be able to protected from the earthquakes as well. So how a specialist in construction, what you have to do and how what you have to do is actually to solve these two very important points.
那么我们的这个建筑的特性是什么呢？第一个特性是不锈钢，它的韧性是非常之强的。我们的这个不锈钢材料的这个韧性是20%到50%之间，韧性最低的地方是20%，最高的这种材料，我们用了很多种不锈钢材料，最高的地方是50%。那么在20%到50%之间，遇到地震的时候，这个建筑可能扭曲，可能出现各种破坏形式，但它不会倒塌，不会突然倒塌，这个非常重要。翻译。
Well, our buildings, because of that, the material manufactured in stainless steel, which has a resistance of 20 up to 50% of, we've tried different stainless steel material, and we discovered that with this particular material, if there is an earthquake, the maximum it could be maybe is it can deform the building the maximum at greatest length, but they will never break or buildings. In other words, they will never
足够高的强度，
um,
所以它的韧性相对低一点。但是我们的螺栓呢是20%的韧性，延伸率20%的延伸率。而我们知道，在智利大量的高层建筑都是用的钢结构，也大量的使用螺栓，他们的螺栓呢都是用的很脆性的螺栓，这是很危险的。翻译。
The least ductile building are the bolts, which are 20% of ductibility. But from what I know, within buildings, they are held, they have a lower ductile capacity. This point, I question myself a lot about.
我在智利考察过很多高层建筑包括我们的中央空调的这个客户，那个智利的第一高楼叫郭斯塔内达。那么，我都考察了他们的这个钢结构建筑，它那个钢结构建筑是有3个问题的。第一个问题呢，就是我刚刚说了，它的这个有一部分这个法兰材料都是很脆性的，这是它第一个问题。第二一个问题呢，它的这个焊接是在现场施工的，焊接以后对于防腐的处理是做的不好，很难做好的。如果做 做不好防腐处理，有些部位腐蚀了，我们是不知道的。它的第三个问题呢更严重，就是它的那个楼板啊，使用的都是混凝土，钢筋混凝土做的楼板，它每一平方米的这个建筑，在智利的高层建筑，每一平方米的这个自身重量大概平均在500公斤，而我们的这个建筑的平均每一平米的重量是160公斤，所以呢，自身重量呢它也太重。你翻译。
Yo he visitado muchos edificios en Chile.
I've seen many buildings in Chile, especially this, the
Chile,
tallest building in Chile, which is Costanera.
principal edificio
And by
de
visiting this
que,
building, I discovered some of the
primero,
issues it
tenía
has.
pernos abrigados.
First of all, it
Pernos
was
abrigados en este edificio Costanera es súper
the
frágil.
bolts
Por
are
eso
very
la
fragile.
estructura de acero,
That's why the
en
steel
este caso no
structure
es
or the
tan buena
structure in this
comparando
case
con
is not as good as if we compare
edificios
with
fabricados con
other
otro tipo de
buildings
pernos. Y en
that
segundo lugar,
have
es
different
el
types of
problema que
bolts.
tiene la parte de
The
soldadura.
other
Porque
is the
todo
welding.
el trabajo de soldadura de edificio
With
Costanera
any
se realiza en el mismo
welding
sitio,
in the building,
in
it's not
situ,
on the
donde
spot,
está
in
el
situ.
edificio construyendo.
Um,
En este caso no podemos
in
garantizar,
this case,
y
we
es difícil
cannot
garantizar
guarantee
la función
the
anticorrosiva, porque
function of it,
nunca
the
vamos a
anti-corrosive
saber
function,
qué
because we will
parte
not
va
know
a
exactly
ser,
what part is going to be
o sea, va a ser afectado por efectos
will be
termomecánicos.
impacted by the
Por lo tanto, es muy difícil realizar el
oxygen. So
tratamiento
it's very
anticorrosivo.
difficult to do
En
an
segundo lugar,
anti-corrosive
sería la
treatment.
losa
And
que
then it
es
also
fabricado en Costanera, es todo de hormigón,
the, uh,
de acero
the
armado.
basis, the
En este
foundation
caso,
slabs
el
are
peso
concrete.
de
Just the net
cada
weight
losa por
of
metro
each
cuadrado es de 500 kilos.
slab
Pero en
is
cambio,
500
nuestro
kilos.
edificio, el
Our
peso
building
de sí mismo
is
por un metro cuadrado es de
again
solamente
by that
160
same
kilos.
equivalent is 160 kilos.
好了，由于时间的关系啊，关于抗震的问题，我可以讲一整天时间，但是呢，确实时间不够，我不能再多占用大家的时间了。我先讲到这里，我等一下希望有机会啊，再来就抵抗地震的问题啊，跟大家来交流。总之，地震是我们人类的一个重大的威胁，特别重要。谢谢大家，我今天先讲到这里。
Debido a que tengo un tiempo limitado, así que no voy a
Since I have very
extenderme
limited
más
time, I will not be able to talk more on seismic or anti-seismic.
dar un discurso de un día.
Maybe if I can give you more information another day, another occasion, and speak more extensively on my opinions on seismic control and seismic methodologies, since it's quite a challenge for humanity. Thank you very much to all.
Un fuerte aplauso.
A
Agradecemos la
great
participación y esta destacada e interesante presentación del señor Shang Yu y por supuesto también la presencia de Yun Han Shane, que también estuvo acá en este lanzamiento. Y con esta tremenda experiencia y presentación, para que continuemos con nuestro programa y sigamos abordando la importancia que tiene hoy día la reactivación en base a la innovación y la productividad, ya está instaladísimo acá nuestro tremendo panel. Está moderado por Conrad von Igel, el gerente general de innovación de la Cámara Chilena de Construcción. Así que le damos un aplauso a él. También hoy día nos acompaña Mónica Álvarez de Oro. Ella es presidenta de las oficinas de arquitectos. También un aplauso fuerte para Mónica. También está con nosotros hoy día Tadashi Takaoka, el gerente general de Social Lab Chile. También un fuerte aplauso para él. Y por último, también está hoy día junto a nosotros Carlos Zeppelin, vicepresidente de la Cámara Chilena de Construcción. Así que un tremendo aplauso para usted. Muchas gracias y lo dejo para que lleven a cabo este panel.
Muchas gracias, Bernardita. Vamos a ir directo al punto. Una muy interesante presentación, obviamente.
Go straight to the point. Very interesting presentation. I think is probably most of the relevant things is how you integrate several aspects that are from a Chilean perspective. We look at separately the industrialization, sustainability, and the maybe incidence and cost, but also the return, financial return that may mean by the efficiencies that it creates. many
presentación
dimensions of
de
that
Sangwe
presentation
que nos
was
interesan
sent
mucho y que
through it,
quiero
which
abordar
are very
rápidamente con
interesting and I
ustedes.
want to deal with
Quizás lo
quickly
primero,
with you.
y
Maybe the
entendiendo que hay un
first,
contexto en el que esto ocurre, esta presentación, ¿no es cierto?, en Chile,
and understand there's a
hace
context
meses
where
atrás, poco menos de un
we were a
año,
few months ago,
nosotros
maybe a
presentaron los
year,
informes
we
de la
presented
Comisión
the
Nacional de
reports from the
Productividad por un
National
lado y
Commission of
Metric Consulting,
Productivity and also from Metric Consulting by the
en el que
uh,
justamente reflejaron algunos
Challenge
de nuestros principales
Chamber of
problemas en la
Construction,
productividad del
reflected our
sector.
main
Quisiera
issues
preguntarles
in the
justamente
sector. And I want
a
to
nuestros panelistas
somehow highlight
cómo ven
that
esto desde la
panel.
perspectiva
How you
gremial
see this
en sus respectivos ámbitos
um,
y
with
cómo eventualmente o cuáles
the
son las principales
associations,
desafíos que
what are
tenemos
the
para
leverages
llegar
that
a
we
lo
have
que hoy día
utility
vimos
to
en esta
be
presentación,
able
que
to
sin duda quizás
attain
nos
or
parecen un poco
thrive at
distópicas.
the point of what we saw
Voy
in
a partir
presentation, but
contigo y
maybe
después
look like unattainable to this. Monica, maybe, thank you. I thought it was quite interesting, the presentation, and I think that the construction should maybe go into forward a more sustainable production process and also an industrialization that's modernization. We are absolutely aware and conscientious, and we think that this should be that way. But think that the construction starts in the constructive process from the s- foundation work is just looking at a part of the problem. I think that there is there are more global aspects and construction doesn't even start in processes. It starts in the current legislation. We have a legislation that at this time does not speak or does not converse between ruling, normative, and the law because of normative aspects and changes. The law is from 2013, and to this moment, we have not ruled or the ordinances have been uh, brought down with corresponding decrees. So there's a series of contradictions between law, ordinances, and normatives, which delays permitting for urbanization, for building and construction, as well as some uncertainties when achieving these or attaining the permit. This obviously is reflected in cost, time. Uh, Time said that their times were 3 to 6 months, and to us that would be wonderful. That would be spectacular. So to be able to have that, uh, and the paradigm of maybe a building in a day and a permit in 2 years, I mean, that's the difference. And that is something that somehow not, not favorable, something we have to deal with and a tremendous effort forward. And also as the executive branch of government provided a new law for the reactivation or the elimination also of um, the value-added tax for social housing and some lowering of the of the decrees. These decrees are um, meant to incentive for social housing, lowering the limits, and these tools that will enable also to go into the construction and increase the uh, 500 uh, 500 building housing units that we have thought out. We have a subsidy at this time with a great effort, and or there's no housing is because they have not been done. So well, some people have the subsidy and there's no units available, and or you have to move you from where you live to other areas very far because the executive then it's not looking at this globally. There are innovations that are not only referring to the how we construct um, how
muchos
we
mecanismos
maybe look at
paraincentivadores.
other mechanisms
Finalmente, el tema de frente a estas nuevas,
uh,
nuevos sistemas constructivos, cómo impulsamos
so
todos los gremios ligados a la
we are
construcción,
linked to the
cambios
construction. We the changes
en la
in
visión de
the
nuestras autoridades
vision of
para
our
aceptarlo
authorities
y para
for
homologarlo o crear nuevas
maybe
normativas
accumulating these
que
or
los
creating
acojan.
new normative
Creo
that will
que
take these in.
como
I
gremios
think
ligados
that
a la construcción
as
tenemos
a
que empujar
association
siempre
body, we have to
el
promote
beneficio común
and push
de
the
nuestra comunidad,
common
de nuestros
benefit of our
ciudadanos.
community
Creo que eso
and
lo
the
deberíamos hacer
ruling.
siempre
And I think we should do this
Muchas gracias,
always
Mónica.
jointly.
Carlos, la Cámara ha estado impulsando varias iniciativas, ¿no es cierto?, en esta
There are a
línea.
series of
El
initiatives that
Consejo
have
de
been
Productividad, sin duda alguna,
the
la Mesa de
productivity
Productividad de la
sector
Cámara con
is
la AIC y el MOP también es otra,
I
digamos, ¿no es cierto?
is the
Hay en
Ministry
los
of Public
próximos
Works.
días una semana de la
Also, in the
productividad, hemos
following
hecho
days, there's a
emisiones
week of
de la productividad.
productivity.
Está el programa Construir Innovando,
There's
que obviamente también
also
con los startups e innovaciones que hay
the
detrás de eso,
startups
detrás
and
de
innovations
productividad.
that are.
Aparece una agenda muy completa. ¿Qué otros
There's a very
ámbitos se
complete
están desarrollando
agenda.
desde la perspectiva gremial? ¿Cómo se están poniendo esos énfasis para aumentar
How
la
are these
productividad? Que
emphases
como
being
estos estudios reflejan que son
thought out
dramáticos.
and that these studies are show dramatic results? First of all, thank you very much for the attendance and are also those who are listening. Well, we're taking hold of this. Chile, we've had for a long time, all sorts of diagnostics and analysis we need to implement. So the California Construction Chamber has been taking hold of this. There's new rulings. There's sectorial in the industry, the companies themselves. We're all Yes, it's true what you comment on the committees in the sectorial fields and basically dealt with key competencies in development. We have technologies tools, the alliance with vendors and providers and sustainability. These are key for the commission. And because of the deficit of housing units, if we were to achieve the productivity of the countries, maybe of the media terms, average term, it would be sufficient 1,500 meters of kilometers of highway of housing. We have a tremendous gap that impacts the quality of life of many. We were working in that field. The regulatory processes involved the new construction, modernizing. Also, the state is also dealing with. Now, in terms of public works, as you're saying, what the Productivity Commission said, 60% of the gap is mainly in regulatory elements. This was maybe in terms of gap that can be dealt with companies. Now, 80-20 is that percentage that we're working strongly in these leveraging these. We're opening up, we're working through the industrialized, the Council of Industrial Council, Construction Council. We also have different agencies that have worked as piloting, and also they're working closely with the stakeholders, and we have a perspective that we have to deal with now. We have to also take this action. Now, how do you see the relation with the entrepreneurship world? Again, this needs to link corporate world to deal with these gaps. Monica, Carlos as well, are international. Our president also said this. The regulatory aspects are also important, but in terms of the modernization, there's area for innovators and innovation in that perspective.
Y como lo dice Social Lab, digamos, ¿no es cierto? Hay mucha innovación social detrás de esto. ¿Cómo lo ves
Social
desde
Lab
tu
says
pequeña
there's a lot
aproximación
of
a contenidos de Social Lab y cómo se podría contribuir desde el
innovation
mundo
and
emprendedor e innovador
entrepreneurship. How
al
can we
aumento de la
bring these
productividad en el
worlds
sector?
together in terms of the productivity of the sector? Well, we have to obviously look at creation. The speed of how we can bring these innovations to practice we look at the maybe food world, there's about $115 million just to carry out a mayonnaise for everyone that's not really mayonnaise, but there's I&D area that's also that sorry, research and investigation is an area also so the first then aspect is um, that would have to deal with uh, at a greater speed. Now, that stage probably is more impregnated in the people that we have not done it perfectly, but we have brought it forward. This is a second layer, which is more complex, which has to do with the productivity for us. Is building housing quicker, but there's a very uncomfortable discussion. There's what is what plays part in the migration, for example, or the social element of the quality of life of people. If we optimize only the financial aspect, which is what we have been doing so far, there's things that start, not fitting in, not from a moral perspective or as ethical, just from practical. How do you invest uh, how do you get the logic of investment where not everyone, a great part of professionals are leaving Santiago because um, many people just want to go to Southern part. So how do you deal with what is productivity of social innovation that we need to resolve? It's not as easy and it's not as comfortable. So I think that when we look at the social entrepreneurs and they have to think, as someone who tries to do an impact and doing their whole life savings, the work, everything to this innovation. So it's a very different than an executive from a social entrepreneur. So we have to look at what they're doing and and it makes sense safety aspects as we were talking about. How can you make the housing safer where I can pay, with all the high standards is okay. When we talk about social housing and we need to construct at low cost, the discussion changes square meters to have that selected and how there's a concentration of options. And through different discussions, how do we construct faster? Obviously, you have to legislature, there's a normative aspects, but this we have been brought to this question and sustainability is part of it. Well, there's theories behind sustainability, not to consume so fast. You cannot say that in any board. You so there's of some concepts, but yeah. Ricardo, maybe you can deepen that discussion. The change construction chamber created a sustainability committee in the legal aspect to give focus sustainability, particularly with 7 pillars, particularly with the financial, social, and environmental. And this is why this links the work that Monica was saying, this zero deficit to access to housing. How do you see this perspective and our international exhibitors somehow show that it's feasible to be productive, but also not from a social and environmental perspective, and that this will be have credits in the near term, respectively. Um, Tadashi says we need to work at this chamber. The role of community, role of workers, environmental role that companies also by the productivity process important. I think the industry will promoting not only the speed of construction and or regulatory elements, it has to do with planning, how we do community, how we do society. So we want to look at society. We are looking at the climate change. We are looking at the general impact. We need to have, we want the associates to environment, all the different actors of productivity and society, they're not only being progressing also, but on the impact we're generating, we want to be responsible for that and we want to generate and be responsible for that. That's the perspective we have from the Chamber of Construction, the concept we want to bring out, we want to transform the industry to a more sustainable industry.
Mónica, por otro lado, todos estos temas, y creo que de nuevo nuestro expositor internacional
Again,
una muy
Monica,
buena señal, ¿no es cierto?, con estos edificios Holon y
giving
su
us, our
capacidad de
speaker
integrar
gave us
la
you know,
sostenibilidad ambiental y
very
la productividad económica, por
message
decirlo
in terms
así.
of bringing productivity
Ahora, todo esto
and
tiene mucho que ver con
sustainability,
la
engaging
integración
all these
temprana.
elements.
En este
This
proyecto
has to do with
aparentemente se
early
da
engagement.
naturalmente
What
porque está todo
happens
integrado en
or
un
goes
proceso
naturally, everything is integrated in a fabrication process, manufacturing process. He's owner of the entire supply chain, as we could say, the broad company. How do you see this from a architecture's office, and what is the early integration challenge? Maybe it's more central, that is analyzed in the process of productivity, metrics, takes it in. How is this done? As association, we are looking at this for many years. In the beginning of our career, in this time now, over 10 years since we have type of beam systems integrating the different disciplines. At the same time, our career or our profession integrates disciplines from always. For us, this was something that we should have always consider and take in the process. In terms of sustainability, this is something we started looking recently. This is true. It's like it was not looked at for many years. Now we are fully engaging as an association, 5, 6 years or more. And something that's very important, which is a citizen participation. This is something. This is the way to continue projecting and continuing. Now, innovation and technology.
Juega un rol sin duda importante en esto. Cuando yo veía el video, ¿no es cierto?
When I was looking at the video of Singve and his building,
me llamó la atención es que no es que tenga mejoras del 10%, del 20%, son varios múltiplos.
these improve maybe a series of multiple digits, a 10 by 20, I mean, in terms of efficiencies in all areas, sustainability, environment, also
Lo que tú mencionaste, el mundo del venture capital, cómo el mundo del
like you said, also venture capital,
la conexión con el mundo de innovación y desarrollo tecnológico en el mundo universitario, etcétera, puede tener un impacto.
There can be an impact. And what recommendations will you do at this time? When you look at the case of the United States in terms of construction, when you look from since 1974, all the IPOs, everything that went out to the market from high technology companies, three of these had been venture capitals, risk capitals, where it had this maybe disruptive logic of innovation, but this 83% would come from these. They didn't come from great companies. They have startups. Now the recommendation, and they try to do this to do everything behind four walls with the limitations and times that we may have, makes it very difficult to generate that innovation at that scale. Companies that are maybe in the top 100 and in the or corporate world that may be that. But the idea is one to look at outside, but then to also ask the correct questions. That's what do we want to resolve? We don't talk about just the speed of how we construct, how fast is done, but the quality of the air that was used within the buildings. But there's still something that we could look at it maybe from another way, another perspective. What if the building is a way of generating new development models, sustainability, or that maybe we can also reutilization of water, recycle. We can maybe look at it differently. look, and maybe also make the purchasing of an apartment maybe cheaper, of a housing cheaper. So what if we rentalize, make profitable rent, maybe different actions? The industry does have an intention and high technology and reserve and development from outside also. It's very difficult to develop
Gracias a
answers to questions that
tenemos
have not been asked.
Josué
So
aún conectado y muy
so
interesado
we
también en
still have
participar
some PA
del panel.
connected
Obviamente que lo
still
felicitamos por
and
todas
very
estas
interesting
intervenciones.
in listening to the panel.
Bienvenido nuevamente.
Welcome, Tanya. Again, please tell us your words.
我关于创新的问题，在当今时代呢，应该所有的领域啊都已经达到了非常高的科技水平。但是呢，就全世界范围而言啊，建筑是最落后的。我甚至于认为建筑的落后程度比农业还落后，因为现在农业的自动化、农业的这个人工效率都是最高的了，都已经是在大多数国家实现了工业化、自动化，甚至于数字化。那在其他的制造业呢，或者说我们的生活质量的方方面面呢，都有这个非常多的创新。但是我们的建筑产业呢，不论是从原材料还是在施工方式，都是极其落后的。尤其是建筑的安全水平，其实由于随着这个劳动
Venimos muy atrasados.
We are very behind.
施工质量的问题，这个偷工减料的问题会越来越严重。所以我觉得建筑呢要进行这个原材料的创新，也就是由钢筋混凝土转化为钢结构，或者最好的是不锈钢结构，这个一定要进行创新。而且这种转化呢，不应该增加它的成本，要以不增加成本、不增加居住者的这个负担为前提。第二一个创新呢，特别重要的就是这个建筑的这个保温、建筑的节能要做到极致，做到无边的这个节能，完全可以做到90%。任何一段建筑都可以跟传统建筑相比，可以做到90%的节能。这个是既是我们时代的需要，气候保护的需要，也是我们每一个居住人的这个经济利益的需要，也是我们提高我们居住的这个生活居住的舒适度的需要。你翻译。翻译。
Aló, aló, ¿me escucha? Aló, aló, ¿me escucha?
Perfecto, te estamos
¿Aló?
escuchando, Moni.
Listo. Actualmente la parte, entonces voy a traducir. Se
I will
escucha bien, ¿no?
translate now. Yes.
Se escucha perfecto.
Respecto a lo de innovación, creo que la parte de construcción viene más
I think the
atrasado.
construction section,
En comparación con la industria de agricultura, en comparación con la parte en la parte de construcción de agricultura todavía es más automático y más inteligente.
so
Que nuestra
maybe
construcción
construction
vía
can be
móvil.
more
En muchos
automatic and
países
more
ya se
intelligent.
han realizado una muy automatización en el área de agricultura y es bastante inteligente, pero en cambio en nuestro ámbito de construcción venimos
In
bien
our
atrasados.
area
Por
of
eso digo
construction,
yo,
we are
hay
very
dos
much
cosas que tenemos
tired
que
or
innovar
behind. We are
urgentemente. En
to
primer lugar
innovate.
son los materiales, la materia prima constructiva.
Raw material and
Tenemos
constructive
que cambiar y
material.
reemplazar los hormigones, los
We have to
cementos
change
que
the
estamos utilizando actualmente en los
material
edificios
that we are currently
convencionales.
using in
En vez de
conventional
este tipo de
building,
material
like
tendremos que utilizar ya acero
concrete, the
inoxidable.
type of concrete. We have to start using
No solamente por el vasto
stainless steel,
sino
not
también
only for
por
its low
la
cost, but also
mejor
because
protección de nuestro edificio.
it's better
En
protection in
segundo
our
lugar,
buildings.
debemos
Secondly,
bajar y
we
reducir
have
el
to
consumo
reduce
energético.
the,
En
cons-
esta manera no solamente vamos a tener muy buena función de aislamiento térmico, sino también vamos a, digamos, para todo edificio es posible reducir 90% de consumo energético. Este no solamente es por tomar consideraciones de las cuestiones económicas, lo que perseguimos es un bajo costo en la construcción
we
de
are
edificios,
perceiving
sino
a high
también
cost
es
of
para el
buildings
bien
also,
de
but this is
nuestros
also
residentes, para los
to
usuarios de
for
estos
the
edificios, porque
users,
para ellos también
people that
están
will be
pagando
in the
menos
building,
con relación
that will
al
also
consumo
lose or
energético.
drop their cost and lose some of those costs that are associated with the
我们特
consumption of
别希望
energy.
能够跟
¿Voy? Excelente.
管理
Muchas gracias, señor
Thank you
Llorente,
very
nuevamente
much.
por su intervención y por esa provocación en términos de los temas de sostenibilidad nuevamente
And
y
also on
de
the
calidad de vida.
sustainability issues and
Quizás
the
para
quality
ir cerrando también este panel por
of
temas
standard of living.
de
Also to
autoridad
start
políticos
closing
y
off the
gubernamentales
panel,
que
and
probablemente
I will
tendrán que
start
dejar
also
este entorno,
maybe
quizás
start with
plantearles tres preguntas
Carlos, who may have to leave us for a few minutes.
como
Maybe
desafío.
a last
¿Qué
challenge.
aspecto más
What
concreto, más práctico
maybe more concrete or practical
podemos,
aspects
señor
can we
Llorente,
take from this session
la
from
experiencia
Sanjay
respecto de la
and also the experience of the
con todas estas
maybe
consideraciones de
these
sostenibilidad y
high,
calidad
fast
en el
built
caso práctico
buildings
chileno?
and
¿Qué,
also
qué
improvements of
aspectos se quedarían de la
quality
presentación de
of the
hoy
building
y
process
que
and
se
methodology for Chile, and what can we emphasize the work being done that maybe we could see do something differently or additional in the projects in terms of productivity by the chamber or maybe the Association of Architects or any other organization in the country. Well, first, the collaboration planning in all these buildings. There's a previous planification required, takes time. Today, we work in this, and we forced by the pandemic with the questions maybe has a promoted, pandemic has promoted, there's been innovation in the sector due to the lack of stock or maybe lack of man labor or hand workers. And this has promoted the development of the sector. We have to work now at the we make this part of process development so we do not come back to this new inertia because of COVID, and we want to really make or become part of the processes that innovation process, CO2 emissions, energy efficiency. There's photovoltaic glasses that maybe that could generate special conditions within the building or photovoltaic and innovations in terms of the material of construction, the material construction of the entire elements, and also planning. Carbon footprint is our key, especially in the conditions of our territory. We need to open our minds to this technology because it they just should not exist. We need to be able to incorporate this and apply these and open our mind of our authorities to the face of these new technologies, but also try to promote new material in construction and new systems. There are certain materials in construction that have been or that have had a tremendous evolution in the recent years. And this has taken the entire area of I guess, the whole entire stakeholder part. We implement this to bring it forward. Well, there's a saying. Well, I think this year it wasn't the navigation or the candle. Sorry, in terms of navigating through these innovations, the candle. I mean, it's not candle were made better every more time, but we have to change leave that mindset. We have to collaborate. We have to also have that perspective without that dream. With that first sounds very ridiculous. Maybe people don't understand the word construction. No, if these questions that are made outside of the box make the world advance more quicker, and there's a learning behind the China's experience, we have to also ask those questions. How do we make a leap jump by 10 in this continuous improvement? Because we feel more comfortable. We need to at least everyone looks at, okay, he's talking about coherent things. That's what the culture we have right now. And but how do we go faster? We have to make aggressive questions and
Excelente,
also
excelente, Tadashi. Y con
very
esto cerramos entonces este
much.
gran panel. Le
Please,
agradezco nuevamente a
close
Mónica,
off
a
the
Carlos, a
panel.
Tadashi
I
por
thank
su
Monica,
participación y
Carlos,
obviamente también
for
a
the
nuestro invitado,
participation,
el señor
also with our guest, special guest, Mr. Zhang Yue. And also, as Sandra was saying, with this last uh, word, we thank your presence and also to be also all of you that you have been part of this launching very interesting challenge and not team subject. And as was spoken, there's a real optimistic perspective of the reactivation of the, particularly through innovation. But before you leave this session, I want to invite Max Correa, who wants to give president of Edifica a recognition and to Monica. Thank you so very much. Beautiful flowers. So with this, we again welcome you and thank your participation and welcome your active participation in all the activities that will be carried out. To close off this session, please, Max Correa, come forward. We thank our panelists to leave this scenario and the floor for Mr. Max Correa. I want to thank the participation of everyone, all of you, the panelists, especially as is Lucas Palacios, our Minister of Ministry of Finance and Tourism, the former Minister of Housing and Urbanism, Antonio Arrasio, President of the Chilean Chamber of Construction, Monica Alvarez, the other President of the Association of Offices of Architects, Ernest Stephanie, Vice President of the Chilean Chamber of Construction, Tadashi Takao, General Manager of Social Lab Chile, also Climate and uh, Innovation, and of course our guest, international guest in June, President of Steel Abroad Group. This important launching of the Connect enables us to be connected until we carry out our essential and in-presence construction exhibition. This will be on October 22nd, or 2022, where we will share our innovation and new tendencies in construction. I want to leave you invited to the visiting platform because every month we will have subjects of interest, examples, between, for example, between the 5 and 8 of October, we have the week of productivity, which is separated um, uh, week for transforming construction. This will be broadcasted through Edifica Connect. Again, for tomorrow, I want to invite you for our virtual platform, NX Pro CEI 2021. This is the main Pro Chile event for the world of engineering construction. Again, coordinated with IIC, AOA, Assessor, and Digital Culture. This is a this will be developed between the 28th and 30th of September between 9 and 1100 hours. Tomorrow, in the inauguration of this gathering, Alfonso Vergara will participate, founder and president of the Foundation of Spain, Fundación Metrópoli de España. And lastly, I'd like to once again thank all of you who participated in the launching. We want to invite you to continue to connected with the activities we will have until next year, until we again meet in Edifica 2022. Thank you very much.